When you think that all is God and you personalize that, then you realize the immense potentiality that is you and how you are here. I wrote something on Facebook last night. I don't remember what I wrote, but I do remember that I said that this call, this event is a call to action whereby we begin to participate in the world, not from verbal vomiting, but from a place whereby we become a part of the solution of social action, whereby we understand and we do whatever it is that we can to dissolve separatism. That we go within the spaces of our own heart to look where the prejudice lies. And that we do our own work within our own closet. And we understand beyond a shadow of a doubt that the only thing that is real is love. And that love is the only thing that has ever transformed anything. And I looked back at what I wrote after I wrote it, and it was already sent, and I went, where did the verbal vomit? But you know, that's what I was doing when I was sitting on the front row of that conference. I was doing it mentally, but I was verbally vomiting my opinions and my ego. I have a great sensitivity, and it's something that I continue to work towards when I look at my staff. Because I, more than anybody else, knows how hard the staff works. And it's not easy. It's not easy necessarily to be a staff member and to support a congregation and just a mass of people who have needs. And a lot of times there is a lot of verbal vomiting. And what happens is Papa Bear all of a sudden goes into protective mode of his staff. And so there was a situation this week where there was some gossiping about one of the staff, a person who works beyond the call of duty. And so Papa Bear got riled. And you know what happens when Papa Bear gets riled? Very much like when a bear gets riled out of its cave, it wants to rip the head off of that individual. You know, did whatever it was. And I sat back and I said, no, you have new ground rules, David. Those ground rules are wait 48 hours. Just breathe. Just be. And so as I've been waiting and sitting in these 48 hours, what I realized, again, is that when there is gossip and when there is finger pointing and when there is blame, particularly when there is judgment, what we get to understand is that's where the real work begins to happen. You know, that's the moment of opportunity. It'd be too easy for me to verbally vomit on that person and realize and miss the opportunity of transcendence. So what does one do? One goes to that individual and it says, hey, we need to talk. We need to talk and we need to look at this and we need to understand where this is coming from. Because if we do, if you spot it, you've got it. If whatever it is that we criticize, we keep. What is this? What is really going on here? And how can we express this and do this more effectively? Not only is that good business sense, but it's good leadership. And I'm continuing to be open to understand what that leadership is supposed to look like. I admire this person because they're the ones who has to look at every single detail of every single thing that goes on here. They're the ones who look at the incoming bills and the incoming money and goes, ooh, you know, because they straddle that fence of being in the realm of the spiritual and in the realm of the effect. And they do a remarkable job. And they also say, how can I do this better? And I love that. And I learned from that person. So I think each of us get to ask ourselves, how can I do this better? How can I go deeper? What is it that I need to do in this world in order to be that which we subscribe to and teach? When do we get to a point where this is all not just concept, but it's action? When will you go out? Will you go out today? And will you be the love in those situations? Will you understand that all it is the willingness to create an intention? You know, I gave up coffee this week. And because when I go on this climb in a couple of weeks, they said, it's a really great idea that you free your system of caffeine because of the altitude challenges and the things that are going on. And I thought, well, I better start. And so, day one, I can do this. I got this down. Day two, a little bit of a headache, but what I'm starting to realize is how much of my activity is absorbed into coffee. It's like, and let me see if I can even explain this because I haven't even tried. But you know how we use things to hide behind. See, there's a vulnerability about each and every one of us. And if we showed up fully in that vulnerability, in that space of love, without any filters whatsoever, then there would be some really dynamic work that could happen on a heart-love level. But even something like coffee is a veil between that vulnerability. In other words, it's like when I meet you for coffee, there's still attention around the coffee rather than the attention fully on you. And I was just fascinated by that. And as I began to look at the craving, not so much for the taste of it, but for the habit of it. And then last night as I'm walking my dog Scout outside, all of a sudden I had this, oh my God, what am I going to do tomorrow morning? Because I get up really early on Sunday, like at 5:30, and part of my ritual is making that coffee and then sitting with God and the coffee. And now this morning it was just going to be God. And I think, I can't do that. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And yet, we do it one moment, one intention at a time. So how do you and I then let go of the idea of two powers? We do it one moment, one world event at a time. If you are ready to be what it is that we all came here to be, which is the vehicle and the instrument by which God expresses, then we do that one moment at a time. So we look at the way we want to react and we want to blame and we want to get angry. And I say use the anger, but use the anger consciously. In other words, don't just stand on the sidelines and point and tell people what they're doing wrong. Look and observe what it is that upsets you and begin to become a part of a social action movement that facilitates change rather than just talking about what's wrong. Don't come to the table whining unless what you also bring to the table is an idea or a solution. And that's the way we are called to live life. And what I know is that when we do that, one vulnerable moment at a time, then we are fulfilling the mission that we came here to be. We are fulfilling what that person said, is that we're the ones who have to let go and do the work and release everything within us. And see, you're no different than me. I'm no different than you. When I am called to let go and become more and more transparent in terms of my relationship to God, so are you. And so whatever it is that we stand in judgment of, whomever it is that we stand in judgment of, we have to realize that we are them. So yes, we are them. We are Trayvon Martin, and we are also Zimmerman. We are both. And I ask you to own that. And I ask you to take that awareness now into your world. And begin to live it. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what your story is. I don't want care what your economic bracket is. I don't care what your titles are. None of that matters. What matters is what you do moment by moment. Because what the truth is that you are all powerful. What the truth is the one power is the power in you. And you have been called to prove the principle. What does that mean? You have been called to prove the principle. The principle is that all things are possible. That whatever the mind can conceive, it can achieve. You have been called to prove that principle. And our soul will not rest. And our world will certainly not rest until each and every one of us stands together